So I know that a non-chatty version of this watercolor travel journal exists on this channel, but I thought I'd do kind of a chatty one because reasons, I guess. So late July, early August of 2018, my husband and I did a road trip. We got a new car, a 2002 Subaru. I'll put Scarlett there. Her name is Scarlett Sue because I said so. Scarlett Sue Subaru. But yeah, so we did this road trip that ended up in South Dakota. Wow, I just completely forgot. For a family reunion on his side. So I decided I'd make a little journal for it, and I ended up making this one. It's I think this is called a Coptic stitch. I don't know, I'll have to look it up. And it's just cardboard and scrapbook paper. This is the title page, I guess, and so you can see kind of the route we took. We started here, which is where we live, and then we drove to Colorado, and then we drove up to Devil's Tower, and then we did a couple stops in South Dakota, and then we ended up in Hurling and Sioux Falls, and then we drove back. This is just the agenda. So yeah, little page, and this is where we started, where we ended up. The first day we drove from Casey to Longmont Firestone, which is in Colorado, and so I did this painting of the road along Kansas. That night we had dinner at this really good pizza restaurant called Peel in Frederick, Colorado. It was really, really good. I like a good pizza place. Day 2, we did Longmont to Estes Park. So here's just a little snapshot of an image from the car on the road to Estes Park. We didn't have a lot of time there because we had to kind of move on. So we just kind of did a few things, and we drove up to the top, and the most adventurous thing here is we had an unopened bag of chips in the background, or in the back of the car. We were planning to camp, so we had food and stuff. So as we were going up into the mountains, pressure changes, we heard this loud explosion coming from the back of our car, and we're like, oh crap, what the heck is that? And we discovered it was the chip bag, and it exploded, and that was just amazing. So here's just some little images from Rocky Mountain National Park, the mountains from above. This is driving through the park, the trees and the fun. And then from Rocky Mountain National Park, we headed towards Devil's Tower, where we had a campsite, and we took one of our telescopes. We have 3 telescopes. At the time, I think we only had one. And since then, the last 2 or 3 years, we've gotten 2 more. Just the field of stars is just absolutely amazing. There's so very little light pollution in the area, so I thought I'd capture that in this little painting here. Day 3, we did Devil's Tower. This is the view we had from where our campsite was. We camped in an official national park monument campsite thingy. And we just, spent the morning walking around and enjoying it. This was a sculpture that was near our campsite called Wind Circle, and you could see it through. And we saw some prairie dogs, and then we went on a journey. The journey, on the way, I guess you could say, we decided to stop at Cement Ridge Lookout, which is a forest, it's from the Forest Service. Forest Service uses this area to spot forest fires in the border between Wyoming and South Dakota. It was like a 30-minute trip on a very dusty, rocky, small road, and boy did our car get really dirty. Like, this is after we wiped off a lot of the dirt and stuff off the back with windshield wiper cleaner and stuff. This is just a bit view from the Cement Ridge Lookout towards the road. Next on our list was Mount Rushmore. I had never been to Mount Rushmore. My husband had. He grew up going to South Dakota a lot just because he had family in the area and just whatnot. So it was exciting to go, and it was fun. I like this little painting. After Mount Rushmore, we did Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse was very interesting. I knew it was unfinished, but it was just kind of amazing just to see how unfinished it was. And so, I mean, it's huge. It crushes Mount Rushmore in size. That night, we camped in Keystone, South Dakota, at this place called Kemp's Camp. It was near the road. It was nice, though. I really just wanted to camp someplace with a shower, so. And it was near this railroad that had a steam train that still operated and would take tourists. So that was kind of cool, even when it woke you up in the morning. But, I mean, the night before I had been woken up by some sort of elk or something, so that was fun too. We saw a mountain goat near there, and this is just a view from our Keystone campsite towards where the railroad is. The railroad was kind of back here in this area. That's our tent. From there, we did Wall Drug. And if you've ever been to the areas around Wall Drug, you know that these signs are everywhere. You can't look off to the side of the road and not see one of these signs. It's probably every mile or so. Free ice water and coffee 5 cents and just all these things. And it was just funny. It was fun to read them all as you went through. So I thought I would capture that. And these are some of the ones we saw. After Wall Drug, we made our way to the Badlands. I think the Badlands was probably my favorite part of the entire trip. Even though it was hot, it was dusty. It was so pretty. I love rocks, and so this was fun. This was fun to paint. And I was kind of surprised to find that it wasn't all rock. There were some trees and grass, and this is one of the views from the trail that we saw. We drove all around there and just kind of had a lot of fun. This is another view from the trail. It was just grass and trees and, a lot of the rocks, obviously. The rocks were very important. They were everywhere. That night, we camped in interior South Dakota, which is where the Badlands are, basically. We camped, just outside the Badlands area. We were planning to camp inside there's a free camping area in the Badlands, but we had to be somewhere the next day and I wanted to make sure I could get a shower. So we camped in a campsite. It was just outside where we could shower. Here's just a view. There's just like a fence here and I don't know how far away, but they weren't too far away. So it was cool to, wake up in the morning and see the Badlands, and the skies were just gorgeous in the area because it was just so little light pollution. Interior South Dakota is a rinky-dink little town. It's tiny. Day 5, we made our way towards Hurley, South Dakota, and the area around there, which is where the family reunion was being held. Of course, we had to stop at the world's only corn palace in Mitchell, South Dakota. That's a fascinating place. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but it's definitely a place to check out. Just they decorate the facade, and it's different every year depending on whatever the theme is. And corn. They hold graduations there. There's all sorts of things. It exists. So the first day of the family reunion was at Parker, South Dakota, at the courthouse. There was like a bus tour around, and my husband's grandfather told about all the places he grew up and stuff like that. And so it was definitely a tiny little town. We stayed at a Airbnb in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So that night, after we had dinner, we went and checked out Falls Park, which is a really pretty little I wouldn't say it's little, area where there's waterfalls and there's shops around it, and it was a nice way to kind of top off a long day. Day 6 was the second day of the family reunion, and that was in Hurley, South Dakota. Hurley, South Dakota is a tiny little town. It's only 415 people. I mean, it's small. So it was nice to see family, and we hung out, and I got to see a lot of my husband's family I've never met before, which is cool. We hung out at this Arthur Nelson History Museum for a long time, and we got kind of just have the run of the place, which is cool. And right next door was a public library, and of course I had to go in with that, and they had a bathroom, and I needed to pee. But they had an actual card catalog. I was so excited. The woman in there, she saw me. She's like, "You must be from a big city." I was like, "Yeah, I love card catalogs. We don't have them anymore. Everything's computerized." I remember very early on, kindergarten, we had a card catalog, and then we went to computers, and then that was that. And, we just kind of hung out and walked around the tower, and we had all decided, Brandon and I decided that we were ready to go home. So we were supposed to stay that one night, and we're like, no, we can't do it. So we drove his sister and her significant other back home because she was going to stay in Kansas, or I guess Missouri technically, for a little while to kind of hang out with the family. And so that was that. I hope you enjoyed this. It was definitely fun. And I guess we could talk about what I used in this. The paper is just some cheapy, really cheap, for kids sketchbook that I had bought for another project, and then I ended up not using it, so I just took it apart. Obviously, you can tell it was definitely not watercolor friendly. That's fine. It did the job. I don't really do a lot of heavy water anyway. And all the paints are I just drew a blank on what it's called. Koi something or other. Sakura Koi something. And then this is probably a gel pen or whiteout. I can't remember. I'll have to. It was a gel pen. Do I still have that gel pen? I may have tossed it. Let's find out. Hi, this chair is very noisy. No, but I'll have to look up the name of the gel pen because I don't remember what it was. So yeah, I hope this was fun and I enjoy sharing my art with you, and I hope you had fun looking at it. Like always, stay safe, wash your hands, and go ride a bike.